Week 0 was great, but now the fun really begins. Week 1 is finally here, guys. A moment we have all been waiting for, because when Week 1 kicks off this Thursday, we've got 5 straight days of college football. Thursday through Monday, we will have college football, and we will have some fantastic matchups on deck. We do know there are 3 top 10 matchups: Ohio State and Texas, Clemson and LSU, Notre Dame, Miami. We're going to predict all 3 of those games later on this week with an individual prediction video. We're also going to have an individual video for Florida State and Alabama. Not a top 25 matchup, but one that's very intriguing. Today, though, as we've done for many years here at the channel, I want to touch on some games that may be flying under the radar. Other games that have caught my attention heading into Week 1 outside of those other marquee matchups. So we're going to predict these 5 games right now, games you certainly do not want to miss, and with some of the results maybe surprising you a little bit. Let's go ahead and kick it off, though. Friday night. Not Saturday. These first 2 games here, same time on Friday night. So you better make sure you have that YouTube TV, multi-vision, or 2 TVs set up, whatever you got to do to make sure you can watch these games at the same time. But Auburn and Baylor, this is actually one of my favorite games of the week. I think it actually might be the most underrated game heading into Week 1. These are 2 teams that have very high expectations heading into the season. Auburn really hasn't lived up to expectations under Hugh Freeze. They feel like this could be the year they break through. They feel like the year they need a breakthrough. They've got a great wide receiver core. They've got a great quarterback, in theory, in Jackson Arnold. Although Hugh Freeze came out recently and said, we're probably going to play all 3 quarterbacks on the road against Baylor. Whether that happens or not remains to be seen. How much remains to be seen, but we all expect Jackson Arnold to be the guy down on the plains for Auburn this year. How will he pan out in his first game with Auburn in a new staff, a new scheme, on the road against the Baylor team that was hot to finish the year? They went 8-5, won 6 of their final 7 games, the lone loss coming to LSU in their bowl game. They've got a veteran quarterback returning in Sawyer Robertson, a great running back returning in Bryson Washington, their top 2 pass catchers coming back, 8 starters back on defense. This is a Baylor team that has a feel of 2021 in them, maybe a team that could go on the road and make the college football playoff, make the Big 12 championship. Ultimately, I'm going to pick Baylor here, guys. I look at Baylor. They've got the home field advantage. They've got the better quarterback play in my eyes. The defense can match Auburn's, and if Auburn's offense struggles like it has for many years under Hugh Freeze, or doesn't live up to the hype immediately with maybe some quarterback questions, I think the Baylor defense will take advantage of that. So sick 'em Bears, give me Baylor to start the year 1-0, and maybe start to send Auburn fans into a bit of a spiral. Because as we know for Auburn and Baylor, the schedule is not going to get any easier for either of these teams. This is a monumental game, not just to start the year off on a high, but to get a crucial win because the year's only going to get tougher. Georgia Tech and Colorado, another game that really has caught my eye. A Georgia Tech team that could be a sleeper team for the college football playoff this year. Got their helmet up there, sent in by our guy Bill. But this is a Yellow Jackets team that is so experienced and plays so well and so hard for Brent Key. And that's been so noticeable over these last couple of years. Do not sleep on the Yellow Jackets, who have a veteran quarterback, dual threat, by the way, in Haynes King. And Jamal Haynes, one of the best running backs within the ACC. So they're coming on the road now with some lofty expectations. A loss would not be very good for them. Colorado, people want to believe they should have lofty expectations, but they don't. They're now adjusting to life without Shedeur Sanders, without the Heisman Trophy winner and Travis Hunter, both off to the NFL. They also will be dealing without their top 4 pass catchers, who combined for 32 of the 37 touchdowns thrown by Shedeur Sanders last year. So this is a kind of depleted Colorado offense that might start Julian Lewis, might start the Liberty transfer Caden Salter, going up against a Georgia Tech defense that has 7 starters back and is severely underrated. Additionally, while Colorado does have 8 starters back on the defensive side of the ball, they gave up over 150 rushing yards per game. We know Georgia Tech wants to run the ball. They averaged over 200 rushing yards per game. So the key for me is, what does Colorado's offense look like? And then defensively, can they get stops against this Georgia Tech offense? I don't think so. The Yellow Jackets are more experienced. They are fearless. They have a very underrated defense, as I just mentioned. They should have enough to come on the road and get this win, especially with Colorado dealing with so many questions. So Baylor wins over Auburn. Georgia Tech beats Colorado on the road on Friday night. Now let's get into Saturday. Let's go to Atlanta for Syracuse and number 24, Tennessee. This is an intriguing game because neither of these teams are going to look like they did last year, right? That's the fun in this. Syracuse was phenomenal last year. We got their helmet up there too, sent in by our guy Jerry. You look at Syracuse. They won 10 games last year, a fantastic first season under Fran Brown. They completely shook up the playoff race when they beat Miami in the season finale. But now a lot of the guys that helped them get to that 10-win mark are gone, namely their star quarterback Kyle McCord. So Now they're going to adjust to life with Stephen Jelly at quarterback and with a lot of pass catchers and running backs that are gone from last year's electric offensive squad. Tennessee, on the other hand, they were a playoff team last year, but they lose their quarterback as well. Nico Iamaleava wanted more money even though he wasn't worth it, and now he's over at UCLA, and we'll touch on him soon. So both teams without their starting quarterbacks from last year. Both teams depleted on the offensive side of the ball from last year. The kicker is the defense. Syracuse wasn't that great defensively last year. They gave up nearly 30 points per game. Tennessee, meanwhile, they have 8 starters back on the defensive side of the ball, including 5 of their top 6 tacklers. So while the Volunteers are going to be led by Joey Aguilar and they lose Dylan Sampson, they've got some questions on the offensive side. Sure, the defense is what's going to keep them in a lot of games this year because it could be one of the best in the SEC. So give me Tennessee to beat Syracuse and Atlanta. I think the Volunteers actually win this game by at least 10 points, if not more. That's how confident I feel in this. Or maybe I should say that's how concerned I am for Syracuse with all the losses that we saw from last year. Volunteers win at least by 10, start the year 1-0, but neither of these teams are going to have the success that they had in 2024. Utah at UCLA, old Pac-12 rivals, late night Saturday night game, by the way. Stay up for this one. Old Pac-12 rivals now is a Big 12 versus Big 10 matchup. Just crazy with that realignment stuff. I really like this Utah team, like a lot. You know, people go, wow, they didn't even make a bowl game last year. What are you talking about? I mean, you guys mind for the last couple of years we've been dealing with quarterback questions from the Utes. You know, is Cam Rising going to play? Does he love me not? You know, will he play? Will he not? We didn't know on a week-to-week basis what to expect from Utah and their offense. We don't have to worry about that now. They had New Mexico quarterback transfer, Devin Dampier, and they bring in his offensive coordinator as well, Jason Beck. Dampier threw for over 2,700 yards last year at the Lobos, but also rushed for over 1,100 yards and 19 touchdowns. So a true dual-threat quarterback that's going to give some defense some problems. Utah is one of the best in the country on the offensive line. They're one of the best in the country on the defensive line. And I look at UCLA, who wasn't all that great last year in year 1 under Sean Foster. They should get a little bit better this year, but does Nico Iamaleava pan out? He wasn't that great at Tennessee. In his first test now with the Bruins, who he joined late, by the way, didn't get there until the spring, late spring, is going up against one of the best defenses in the country. So he wasn't that great in the SEC. Now he's getting with a new team that doesn't have a whole lot of offensive talent. UCLA only averaged 18.4 points per game last year. I think Nico gives them the spark. I think they're better than that, but not by much. And their defense loses their top 11 tacklers from last year. I know the Bruins added plenty of transfers, but to expect this Bruins team to come in here, even though they have home field advantage, it won't be much of a home crowd anyways. To expect them to be able to hang with Utah and to beat them, I think is a little bit far-fetched. I think the Utes win this game. I think they, like Tennessee, win it by at least 10 points. The Utes start 1-0 because they are a team that could win the Big 12 and could make the college football playoff. UCLA just hoping for improvement across the board, hoping to at least make a bowl game in 2025. Rounding out these top 5 games here, TCU at North Carolina, Labor Day Monday. The only game on Monday night. We've got our North Carolina helmet recently just sent in by our guy Steven. That dude BP. We appreciate him as always. Look, this is a game. Why is it big? It's because it's Bill Belichick's debut, right? It's an intriguing Power 4 matchup, but all eyes are on North Carolina because it is the debut of Bill Belichick, arguably the greatest NFL coach of all time, now at the college ranks. But let's start with TCU. Look at the Horned Frogs. They've got one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12. Josh Hoover returns after throwing for nearly 4,000 yards and 27 touchdowns last year. This is an offense that averaged over 33 points per game last season and now also returns 8 starters on defense. TCU quietly put together a really good 9-win season and were a couple of narrow losses away from maybe being a 10-win team and flirting with the playoff or flirting with the Big 12 title berth. That's how good TCU was last year. People weren't talking nearly enough about it. Now we are, or at least you should be, because TCU's got the pieces to make a run for a Big 12 title. The offense is there. The defense is there. And my question for North Carolina is how quickly has Bill Belichick built this team up with a lot of guys coming into the transfer portal? How quickly has he built this team up to face off against a veteran TCU squad? How quickly has the defense been put together? Notoriously, under Mac Brown, North Carolina's defenses were horrendous. So how quickly has Bill Belichick, who's a defensive mastermind, put together a defense that can try to stop this electric passing attack of TCU? How quickly does South Alabama transfer quarterback Gio Lopez fit into this offense? And even if he does pan out great, who's going to help him? UNC loses plenty at running back, Amarian Hampton being one of them, and obviously at wide receiver. So the Tar Heels, I think, are going to do fine under Bill Belichick this year. I don't think they're going to tank or anything like that, but I don't think they're going to have enough to beat TCU at home in Week 1. I think the Horned Frogs, again, are too experienced of a squad. They have a lot less questions than the Tar Heels. North Carolina and Bill Belichick in Chapel Bill put up a very good fight, but ultimately fall short. TCU wins this game And the media, all they'll talk about the next day is, oh, Bill Belichick doesn't have it. He can't coach, whatever. That's going to be ridiculous. That's not true. He's going to lose some games. He's not going undefeated. But the Tar Heels, I promise you, will be just fine. So there you go, guys. That is our Week 1 predictions for the 5 underrated games. Again, those 3 top 10 matchups plus Florida State, Alabama, that's coming your way throughout the course of this week. Deeper, in-depth analysis, official predictions of all 4 of those games. Those are the 4 biggest ones in my eyes, but these are ones you certainly do not want to miss. So go check it out. Get ready for Week 1. Kicks off Thursday night. 5 straight days of college football. Guys, we have finally made it. It's the best time of the year. And as always, we're going to be here every step of the way with you at the Gridiron Expert. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share the videos. We talked about not wanting to miss out on these games and predictions. You also don't want to miss out on these expert picks down here. Some of the best spread picks in the entire country. We've never had a losing season. We're beating out over 80% of the national handicappers every single year. We've hit over 80% on the money line as well, 3 of the last 4 years. You're going to win big with us if you sign up for our picks. The earlier you sign up for those, the better. The link for that down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.